So here's a thought. What if our economy was actually designed to create more abundance, not less? I mean, what if its whole point wasn't just about managing what's scarce, but actively generating what's plentiful? It's a pretty radical idea, right? But that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We're going to be exploring a framework that tackles that very question. It's called spiral economics. And, it's all about this really powerful shift in how we see value. It's not some finite thing you have to dig up or extract. Instead, it's more like a living potential, something you can actually nourish and grow. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at our current economy of extraction. Then we'll get into the new story, the logic behind the spiral, how we could even measure all this, and finally, how to take it from just an idea to something real. All right, section 1. Let's start with the story we're all living in right now, the economy of extraction. So, our conventional economy, it's really built on a super simple linear story. You extract something, you produce with it, people consume it, and then you waste it. Take, make, waste. It's the model that's powered everything for centuries. But, the problem with a straight line is that it has an end. And let's be honest, we're really starting to feel the consequences of pretending it doesn't. And this really gets to the heart of that paradigm's logic. Value is seen as something you just take. You extract it, and it's valuable because it's scarce. The whole goal is just to get more, to accumulate. But look at the outcome. This way of thinking leads directly to environmental degradation and social fragmentation. It's a system that, by its very design, kind of eats its own foundation. So that's the old story. But what if? What if there's a totally different one we could tell? That brings us to section 2, and this idea of shifting to field nourishment. Okay, look at this. This is the whole ballgame right here. The old paradigm's goal? Accumulation. The new one? Systemic health. In the old one, value comes from scarcity. In the new one, it comes from the quality of relationships. And the outcome? Well, it's the difference between depletion and regeneration and abundance. It's a total 180-degree flip of the entire economic script. This idea, it's not some crazy new invention. It actually resonates so deeply with ancient wisdom traditions. This quote from an indigenous leader just says it all, doesn't it? We don't take, we share and care, because she, Mother Earth, shares and cares about us. That's a worldview built on reciprocity, on relationships, not on extraction. It's seeing the economy as just one part of a living system that we have to care for. So this all sounds really good, right? But the big question is, how does it actually work? Let's get into the nuts and bolts in section 3, the logic of the spiral. The first huge concept we need to get our heads around is this idea of relational value. It means that wealth isn't in the thing itself, but in the healthy connections between things. Okay, think about a forest. Is its value just the timber you can cut down? No way. The real value is that whole intricate web of relationships, the trees, the soil, the fungi, the wildlife that creates a resilient, thriving ecosystem. That's where the value is. And the second big idea is resonant exchange. So most of us are used to transactions being zero-sum, right? For me to win, you have to lose a little. But a resonant exchange is totally different. It's positive sum. The transaction itself actually creates new value for everyone, for the whole system, because it aligns what everyone needs and what everyone can do. It's a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of situation. So when you put those ideas together, you get these 5 guiding principles. It's pretty logical, really. Step 1, your economic activity should actually strengthen the systems you depend on. Step 2, remember that value comes from the quality of those relationships. Step 3, make your transactions create more value for everyone. Step 4, design things so resources circulate and regenerate, not just get used up and thrown away. And finally, step 5, the ultimate measure of success is the health of the entire system. Okay, but that last one, measuring success by whole system health, that's huge. That's really where the rubber meets the road. Because it begs the question, if you're not just counting dollars and cents, what on earth are you measuring? So let's look at the new tools this new economy would need. Well, to make this stuff real, you need totally new ways of accounting. The framework talks about something called the honey ledger, which is such a great name. It's a ledger that tracks multiple kinds of capital, not just financial. Think about a beehive. A good beekeeper doesn't just count the jars of honey, right? They're tracking the health of the flowers, the strength of the colony, the resilience of the whole ecosystem. That's what creates real, lasting wealth. And here's some examples of what those metrics could look like. So instead of obsessing over GDP, what if we measured asset distribution? Like what percentage of people actually have access to the things that create value? Or innovation diffusion, how quickly do good ideas spread? Or local circulation, how much of the money spent in a town actually stays in that town, making it stronger? These are things that tell a much richer story.
We can get even more specific. We can measure a system's resilience. How diverse is it? How quickly can it bounce back from a shock? We can measure its flow. Are resources and information actually circulating, or are they getting stuck somewhere? And we could even measure its metasystem health, which is a fancy way of asking, are we creating value for our kids and grandkids? Are we aligned with a bigger purpose?
All right, so this is all fascinating theory, but the most important part is, how do we get this stuff out of our heads and into the real world? Let's talk about putting this theory into practice.
Okay, let's start with something really fundamental: agriculture. How we grow our food. So just imagine for a second an agricultural system where farmers get paid not just for their yield, but for how much carbon they're putting back into the soil. Imagine actual markets that pay farmers to increase biodiversity or improve water retention. Then, through transparent supply chains, you and I could actually see the impact of our choices and directly support the farms that are healing the land. It changes everything. Okay, next up, a really big one: finance. Basically, the circulatory system of our entire economy. What would this look like in finance? Well, imagine investment funds where your financial return is literally tied to measurable improvements in things like soil health or community well-being. Imagine banks that give better loan terms to businesses with a proven regenerative impact. And on a policy level, imagine we stop taxing productive work so heavily and instead shift taxes onto things that cause ecological harm. See? This is how you get the money to flow toward the health of the whole system. When you boil it all down, this is the core shift. It's about reorienting our entire economy away from extraction and toward nourishment. We move out of this zero-sum game, where for me to win, you have to lose, and we step into a positive-sum transformation, where my success is fundamentally tied to the health of the systems we all depend on. It's no longer a game of taking, it's a game of co-creating. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If it's true, if real wealth really comes from healthy relationships with each other and with our planet, well, what's the most valuable thing we can create together?